Greetings and welcome to this live stream. As I'm looking in the monitor here, I am realizing there comes a point in your life where every day is a bad hair day. So I'm opening into acceptance and equanimity here. Thank you for being here. COVID update. I'm still in recovery. This has taken a long time. This strain apparently is, the latest strain apparently is really virulent. And unfortunately, Tara has tested positive again. So she is really in the throes of it. And I'm hoping that we and everyone will move through this with some grace. I was hoping to do a talk a little bit on how to navigate these political times. I just have not had the firepower, fatigue, brain fog, that sort of thing. However, I have gone through the archives and found a talk that I think might be helpful. So I'll give a little introduction to that later. But first of all, it's great to have you here if you are here and want to stay on. And let's see, announcements. Thank you to the Insight Meditation Community of Washington, to Glenn Harrison, our producer, for streaming this and getting this out to you. A big thank you to Rita Moran, our mindful movement leader. That link for her class is at 6:30 Eastern Standard, is on my website and on my Facebook page. I do have a newsletter. I'm way behind in getting a newsletter out, my monthly, which will have, oh my gosh, my best photography from the next many months. So that'll be fun to share. I'll put that together when the brain fog clears. I do have a day-long coming up in January 11th. Start your year with mindful intention, which is always a big part of my life, where I do kind of an annual review and reflect on what's next, that sort of thing. So if you're up for a day of reflection, really asking yourself what's most important this year and how do you move toward it, that's what this day is all about. Finally, this is all offered freely. It's all in the spirit that no one's ever denied access to these practices and teachings. It's a neurotic way to make a living, but I just like I like the flow of it. I like the integrity of it. If you feel inspired to support this, thank you so much. All right, that's it for announcements. So a short meditation. And the topic that this talk is about is around happiness and true nature. With all the turmoil in our life right now, at least politically, externally, and who knows what's going on for you internally, it's hard to imagine that happiness is actually, in essence, who we are. But this meditation will explore a little bit around the quality of happiness. So if you like, you might close your eyes. Feel free to stretch and move in any way that feels good for you. Reach your arms up high. Maybe taking a few long, full, deep breaths. Let out any primal screams that may be residual in your life right now. And as you're ready, you can let your eyes close. And if you close your eyes, not necessary, but if you close your eyes, take a moment just to reflect. What if in this moment there was nothing to add? What if in this moment there was nothing to take away? And what if in this moment there is nothing to change or improve? Can you just sense the natural flow of things? The natural movement of the breath. The breath is, the body's breathing by itself. And can you just for a few moments just feel and experience the sense of effortless breathing? if you turn your attention to sounds, the real-time sound vibrations that are happening right now. Is it possible to be aware of the sounds that are the closest to you as well as the sounds that are the furthest away? And can you sense how the sounds are completely beyond your control? And is it possible to let them be without trying to change them or alter them in any way? What is this deep state of listening without trying to control? What is this quality of open, allowing awareness? Now, you might explore in this spaciousness of presence to again feel the breath. Where do you feel the breath? Where do you experience the breath right now on the inside? If you switch your attention to the sounds right now, can you experience the sound vibrations as they're happening? You might now elect to use either breath or sound vibration as your primary point of attention, but not in a tight and controlling way, but as a way of kind of coming home to the here and now. Kind of a relaxing back when your mind is wandering. You may notice that there is a natural reactivity of the mind, a moving toward a quality of wanting and a quality of pushing away, a quality of aversion. And is it possible in these next few minutes to simply notice, number one, your direct experience of breath or sound, but also the relationship of the mind to what's happening? And right now, what is your experience right now of the breath or sound? Is it possible to immerse yourself in the experience of this breath? With the breath moving in, the breath moving out, the pause between inhalation and exhalation. Is it possible to actually feel the sound vibrations? And you may notice an interesting distinction. It's the difference between the direct, raw experience of here and now and the mental fabrication around what's happening. As best you can, just for the next minute or two, is it possible to redirect your attention to this experience of the here and now without a story, without commentary? And when you notice the mind in commentary, can you notice that without any judgment? This is the natural function of the mind's experience of the present moment. In this remaining minute, is it possible to relax and soften inside even more? Is it possible to relax any control of the mind and just let things be? Imagine that everything happens by itself. You are the one who is aware of this natural flow. You might now deepen your breath just a little bit. Let your body move a little bit, swaying a little bit from side to side, widening your attention, and very gently beginning your transition. No hurry, no rush. One of the most profound inquiries that I run across is this question, and I'll offer you this now. What's between you and feeling happy right now? That question quite often will reveal a number of things. Essentially, the inherent dissatisfaction of the present moment. Something's missing. You're wanting something that's not here, or you're wanting to get rid of something that is here. A number of traditions talk about how happiness is really your true nature. With all the turbulence in the world right now, externally and internally. How do we cultivate a quality of well-being, a quality of happiness? And is that narcissistic? Is that a self-indulgent? Or is it possibly your greatest contribution? I didn't quite have the firepower to write a fresh talk. But this talk from 2016 is a talk on happiness and true nature. I hope you enjoy it. It's audio only. It's in front of a live audience, so there's actually people seem to be laughing at some of the jokes, so you might appreciate that. I hope you enjoy the following talk, and most truly and deeply, may you be happy. And may you encounter and serve in this world from a place of true and deep happiness. Thank you so much, and enjoy the following talk. A researcher and therapist had a theory that couples who experience physical intimacy every day are the happiest people. So he wants to test out this theory for his research, and he finds a way to get all the couples he knows in one room for this seminar. But he starts off the seminar by asking, how many people here experience physical intimacy once a day? And a number of the group, they raise their hands, they're kind of like smiling, and he said, well, once a week, and other hands go up, not as many smiles or grins. He said, well, how many of you have physical intimacy once a month? A few hands kind of tepidly go up. And he says, okay, how about once a year? And to his shock, a man in the back jumps up and is waving his arms back and forth. And he's just, got thumbs up, a big smile on his face. And this researcher is completely shocked because his theory is going to be blown out the window. And so he says to this man, he says, if you only have physical intimacy once a year, why in the world are you so happy? And the guy says, today's the day. There's no point to that story, but it does suggest that happiness is elusive. And but it's also something you can cultivate. A few things I'd like to talk about tonight, and we'll have some reflections as well. The first is I'd like to talk a little bit about how happiness is a skill that you can cultivate. Happiness is really a practice. While much of our happiness is dependent on externals, it's something you can cultivate in the absence of externals. The second is I'd like to talk a little bit about how desire is tied directly into happiness, and how happiness is really a path. And a few practices, a few things you can cultivate to help you cultivate more happiness. So I was, as I was sort of researching this, and someone sent me a link to the final minute of the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl, where they showed, if you're not familiar, the last minute the Seahawks were on the 1 yard line about to score, and they elected to pass, and the pass was intercepted, and the Patriots ended up winning. And if you haven't seen it, they have all these video clips of people reacting to that moment. And I just watched some of these images, and if you haven't seen it, it's quite extraordinary to see just how insane people go over this experience. And I actually at some point had just tears just sort of streaming down my face just because I was so empathically lifted up by that experience. Then they showed the video of the Seattle fans, and they were not quite so happy. But it was such a classic example of how much our happiness is dependent on external conditions. So this morning I woke up in a little bit of a funk, and I was sort of just wondering, well, what's going on? And there's a practice that I do, which I find really, really helpful. It's a way of just sort of, revealing the landscape of what's going on. And the question is, what's between me and feeling happy? And so as I was just lying in bed, I thought, okay, well, so what's between me and feeling happy? The first thing that came up with was, I have this damn happiness talk I got to do. And so then I went on, and then I realized, well, I'm behind schedule on a program that I've got to get organized. I should be further along in a writing project that I'm working on. I wasn't very focused yesterday afternoon. I have a backlog of stuff I have to do. And I realized that there was in everything I was naming, there was some judgment that I was holding. And because of that judgment, I wasn't happy. And I find that question to be really, really powerful. So I'd like to offer this as just a little inquiry to start off our evening. If you like, you can close your eyes. And this practice is kind of informed by the tradition of focusing by Eugene Gendlin. It's a meditation called Clearing the Space. And you might just ask, in your life right now, just one thing that's between you and feeling happy. And as you recognize that one thing, you might just say hello to it. And imagine you could place the concern for that to the side, just like you're kind of putting a dinner plate to the side. And then to ask again, what's one thing that's between you and feeling happy? And as you recognize it and name it, imagine you could place the concern for it to the side, and we'll do a few more rounds. In your life right now, what's between you and feeling happy? As you place that to the side, and again, what's between you and feeling happy? And one more. What's between you and feeling happy? And you might pause here and just sense what you've named, this landscape of just a few things that are between you and feeling happy. And if you like, you can deepen the breath and you can let the eyes open. I find that little exercise helpful for myself because it helps me to see more clearly, just to identify what's there. Sometimes just naming it kind of helps to let it go. Or it might just reveal something in my life that might need a little bit more attention. But there's an interesting hypothesis that's kind of informed through Buddhist psychology. And that is that happiness is your true nature. Happiness may seem very far away, either right now or at different times. But what so many of the teachings say is, at the very core of who you are, there is a quality of luminous and radiant well-being. The challenge then is, how do you access that? How do you access your true nature? And we all know what happiness is. We've all experienced happiness at different times. And I recently have been asking people, when was the last time you were happy? And someone said it was when he was explaining a writing project to some colleagues, and they were really getting excited about it. And someone else said it was just going for a walk with their dog and feeling a sense of contentment. And someone said having everyone in the family gathered around the table at Thanksgiving. After that, someone said not having everyone around the table gathered at Thanksgiving. And someone had just completed a 2-year master's degree, and the release of that was really happy for them. Yesterday, I was paddling on the river, and in the middle of the river, there was a beaver crossing the river, and I got to track it for a while, and just that kind of happiness of discovery was so cool. They're not coming for anyone here, are they? Okay. So most of the time, our happiness is dependent on externals. You have some good fortune. You win, you get good praise, you feel healthy. Another form of happiness is cultivating happiness that is not dependent on externals. When the Buddha's experience in his moment of awakening, allegedly one of his first insights was recognizing that everyone was looking for happiness in exactly the wrong way. That everyone was looking for happiness that was dependent on externals. And it's helpful to remember, though, that every choice that you make, whether a wise choice or unwise choice, is driven to take you toward happiness. Any addiction that you have is a desire to be relieved of suffering and to cultivate a sense of happiness, whether it might be unwise in the long term, but the drive, the seed of that is looking for happiness. And so this is an innate, inborn desire we have to be happy. It's in our nature. So there's something in Buddhist psychology called dependent co-arising. It's kind of a complex description of how life happens. But the essence of it is that desire runs the entire show. Desire puts your life in motion and keeps your life in motion. And everything that we choose is informed by this desire for happiness. I have a friend who is going through a rough divorce right now. Married 23 years, 3 kids. She wanted to stay in and work it out. He wanted out, and she was really bitter. And they split up. She found someone she clicked with right away, and he felt stuck. And it's all coming out in the divorce process. I want her to know how much she hurt me. I know I should be nicer, but I can't help myself. If I give 1 inch, she's going to take advantage of me. And it's interesting to see how behind the challenge and these wrenching emotions and the struggle over resources, behind that is something along these lines. If I win, I'll feel happy. If I can punish this person enough, I'll feel happy. If I can get enough money out of this divorce, then I'll feel more secure, and then I'll feel happy. And it's interesting, even in the midst of horrible pain, there's this drive toward what we think of as happiness or the relief of suffering. And it's so interesting that when we're caught in conflict, it's helpful to think that we're run by committee. In family systems, theory, we have sort of like the managers. That's the controller, the critic. And then we have the exiles, the parts of us that we've pushed off, the child or the adolescent. And then we have what we call the firefighters, those that come in at different times, the warrior, the good Samaritan, the rebel. And all of the conflicts that we're caught in, depending on which one of these voices has the microphone, that's what we believe. And each one of those is sort of telling us what we should do in order to be happy. There's some voice saying if you make a change, then you'll be happy. Well, then another voice says, no, if you don't change and stay safe and small, then you'll be happy. And sorting all of this out is a challenge. So much gets in the way of that direct core experience of our true nature, that luminous quality of the unfettered heart. We talk a lot about the weather systems of the mind in this practice. The weather systems of anger, aversion, judgment, ill will. The weather systems of craving, of wanting, of fantasy, of planning. The weather systems of worry and restlessness, of sloth and torpor, depression, of doubt, criticism. And when you think of them as weather systems, as you're navigating across the ocean in your sailboat, when these weather systems take over, you are utterly fogged in, utterly lost. And when we're struggling in life with blind rage, kind of unceasing fantasy, the endless cycles of worry, the depression, being lost and frozen in self-criticism. But it's helpful to remember that there is a compass in this practice, and that is your intention. And as you remember your intention, and I think ultimately our intention is happiness. The happiness that's available that's not dependent on externals. That can give you direction again. Having the intention to be happy can be so helpful. The happiness that comes not being dependent on the externals. And I think what happens is as you practice in life, as you explore and cultivate non-judging awareness, as you practice self-observation without judgment, through self-evaluation and refinement, perhaps you're getting more skillful in cultivating happiness. And that includes finding happiness in the world, in your expression, but also developing your capacity to be happy no matter what. I always end up talking about this, but it's such a form of happiness for me. And that's my love of photography, and in particular nature photography. And I'd like to kind of share my experience of it through a particular lens, which I found informative. So the first is that this experience kind of gives me really positive energy. And when I engage into this activity, I get outside. It's always an adventure. It's something new. Another quality is I'm engaged. I'm either in the water in all kinds of situations, or I'm hiking, or I'm climbing. I'm tracking animals and birds. I'm noticing how the light changes. I'm seeing how the season changes. And I'm like studying how can I most skillfully capture light and whatever I see. There's another element to it, which is the quality of relationships. And even though this is a solo activity, there's something also very relational about it. I really like sharing my images. I love getting feedback from people who appreciate it. It's fun to share it with other photographers who really get the nuance of the craft. And I even have some relationships while doing it. There's some fishermen I've gotten to know, and we have our little male bonding thing going on out on the river. Another quality that builds that sense of happiness is meaning. When I get out on the river and get out in nature with a camera, it connects me with something bigger than myself. I get to see things that most people don't get to see. And I get to meditate out in nature. And I'm also kind of creating a body of work, which could be really fun, just a creative process. Hopefully tying it into a fundraiser for the park and helping to educate folks about what's right here outside of D.C. And the third element that adds to my happiness is a feeling of accomplishment. I'm getting better at this over the years. My skill level is better, both being outside and navigating on the river, but my understanding of kind of the art of photography. And I'm actually developing something of quality. I take real pleasure at that. So all of this is an external practice, but it fills me with a quality of happiness. And when you look at positive psychology, there are 5 elements that I just kind of named. Positive energy. Having an experience of positive energy cultivates happiness. When you're engaged, really engaged and interacting with your life, it feeds that sense of inner happiness. Relationships are all part of our happiness factor. Having a sense of meaning in your life. And also having a sense of accomplishment. And that's actually something that Seligman, after years after putting together positive psychology, when he went back and looked at the research, he realized that he made that addition of accomplishment. That when you have a feeling of getting better at something, it's a profound quality of happiness that comes with it. So I thought I might offer just a short reflection on these qualities, and you can kind of run them through your own experience. If you like, you can close your eyes. And you might just reflect in your life the degree to which you experience or don't experience positive energy. Just having a sense of positive energy informing your life. Are you engaged in your life? Could you be more engaged in a way that's fulfilling and uplifting? When you reflect on the quality of relationships in your life, might you make some adjustment in relationships that fill you with a greater sense of connectivity and aliveness? Reflecting on the experience of meaning, having a sense of meaning in your life. and a sense of accomplishment. And just taking these moments to reflect on this lens and sensing where you might want to make an adjustment. And then if you like, you can deepen the breath. And if you like, you can open your eyes, or you can remain with them closed. So looking through this lens of positive psychology, through this lens of positive energy, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment, these are qualities we can cultivate. We can make adjustments in our life to kind of enliven our capacity for happiness. And it's helpful to really take time to evaluate what you're doing in your life. What are you doing that's cultivating happiness, and what are you enduring in your life that's diminishing happiness? There's a quality of kind of self-correcting here. Really just sensing, what changes might I make that would increase my capacity for happiness? And Gil Fronsdal has this great analogy. He's teaching sort of Buddhist principles to kids. He said, you know how kids do, you have a candle and you put your finger through, He said, at some point when you're holding your finger into the flame and you start to feel pain, you ask yourself, how am I contributing to my suffering? In that same way, it's very helpful to reflect. What am I enduring that is diminishing my capacity for happiness? What might I do that could increase my capacity for happiness? And it requires a real deepening understanding of life. Understanding the consequences of unskillfulness. And when you take on the path of being happy, it really does become a path. And you begin to recognize inevitably that your happiness is connected with the happiness of others. And so as we get more wise, we start looking for the happiness that is long-lasting. We start to see in the cause and effect. And we start to see how we're relating to the world is directly related to our happiness. There are two stories I wanted to share with you. One is a story of someone who was leading a seminar with 50 people. And the speaker stopped and said, we're going to do a group activity. And he gave each person a balloon. And each person had to write their name on it with a marker pen. And then all the balloons were collected and then put into another room. Now, everyone was then told to go into the room and find the balloon that had their name written on it, and within 5 minutes come back. So everyone was frantically searching through the room, colliding with each other, pushing each other, and there was total chaos. And after about 5 minutes, no one found their balloon. So then he changed the exercise, and he said, now what we're going to do is you're going to find a balloon with a name on it, and then find the person who that balloon belongs to. And within minutes, everyone had their balloon. That's such a beautiful story and a beautiful analogy. Everyone is frantically looking for happiness around them, not knowing where it is. But there's something in finding happiness collectively. As one of my teachers said, the key to your heart is found inside the heart of another. And another story I like, just in a little bit of time we have left, that kind of speaks to how to cultivate happiness in the world. It's a story of a merchant who sent his son to learn the secret of happiness from a wise teacher. And this young man had to wander for a long time, and he finally found this beautiful castle on top of a hill. And so instead of finding a holy man there, he saw there was a lot of activity. There were merchants who were coming and going. There were people chatting in the corners. There was a little orchestra playing music. There was a table filled with beautiful food. And the wise man was talking to everyone, and this young guy had to wait for 2 hours. But finally he saw them, and this wise man listened to this young man for a long time. And he said he didn't have the time to tell him the secret to happiness, but he would later. And he said, "Why don't you take a look around my palace and come back in 2 hours' time?" He said, "But however, I want to ask you a favor." He handed the boy a teaspoon, and he put in 2 drops of oil. He said, "While you're walking around, carry the spoon, but don't let the oil spill out." So the young man began to climb up and down the public staircases, always keeping his eyes on the spoon. And after 2 hours, he came back to this wise man. And the elder man said, "So, did you see the beautiful tapestries in the dining room? Did you see the garden that we've been working on for the last 30 years? And did you see all the books in the library?" And the young man confessed that he hadn't seen anything. His only concern was making sure he didn't spill the oil out of the teaspoon. So the man said, "Go back and see this place. It's beautiful. You really can't trust anyone until you really see their house." So the young man felt a little more at ease. And he took the spoon and he walked around the house, and he saw the tapestries and saw the garden and saw the beautiful place. And when he came back, he told him everything that he had seen. And the old man said, but where are the 2 drops of oil that I entrusted to you?" And the young man realized that he had spilled the oil. And the old man said, "That's the only advice I can give you. To look at the wonder of the world and never forget the 2 drops of oil in the spoon." And there's something about that practice of engaging in the world and protecting, being self-aware while in the world. There is so much stimulation in the world, so much calling our attention away, which opens us to the 10,000 joys and to the 10,000 sorrows. And it's very easy to get lost in all of that. If we simply attend to ourselves and try and close off the world, we miss what's out there. We miss the 10,000 sorrows, but we also miss the 10,000 joys. And this art of living, if you're not living in an ashram or a cave, is exploring how you can keep your awareness open to the world and cultivate a sense of happiness. And just a few things to reflect on in these final minutes. A couple of the direct paths to cultivate happiness. And one is to actively cultivate generosity. That when you practice generosity, it immediately takes you outside yourself. Another is gratitude and appreciation. As soon as you practice gratitude and appreciation, you're not only changing your state and your brain, but you're changing your relationship to the world. Do you remember a teacher by the name of Reverend Ike? Does anyone remember Reverend Ike? What a great guy. He told this one story I loved. And he was very into abundance, And I can't do his accent. I won't even try. But he said, before I came to church, I was in a parking garage, and I parked my Cadillac in a corner, and I told someone to watch my car, and I meant to hand him a 5, but I handed him a 20. And before I could take it back, he said, "Thank you, Reverend Ike, thank you." I said, "I couldn't take it back. You got to say thank you to the universe, and the universe can't take it back." I love that. Practicing gratitude immediately begins to shift your relationship to the world, to train yourself to look for the good. One of my favorite quotes is actually kind of like a guiding quote in my life, is from E.B. White, who wrote, "Each morning I wake up torn between a desire to save the world and to serve it. This makes it difficult to plan the day." Serving others and generosity, it takes you outside yourself. But savoring is also a direct path to ecstatic appreciation and to contentment and to happiness. So with all the different strategies that are out there, I just remember one quote at the end of a seminar I once did. This is a quote from Werner Erhard. There are a couple of variations of the quote. He's the founder of EST. He said that the cheapest way to be happy is to choose what you already have. And that really is the key. When you choose what you have, you're automatically entering into the receptivity of the moment just as it is. So why don't we close with a short yet brief meditation and reflection. You might close your eyes and just take a few full, slow, deep breaths. And as you breathe, just imagine your capacity for happiness expanding and widening and deepening. Imagine your life open to more positive energy. Imagine your life more intimately engaged. Your capacity for dynamic and meaningful relationship. And to embrace a deeper sense of meaning in your life. And as you make your way through life, to celebrate accomplishment. And recognizing that happiness is found in this world. It is available in this world. And there is a quality of happiness that is not dependent on externals. Choosing what you already have. And for these next few moments, just sensing the breath. And sensing this quality of the true self, naturally radiant and calm, naturally luminous. And as you're ready, you can deepen the breath. And you can let your eyes open.